In 2018, the Greek league made headlines as the PAOK owner Ivan Savvidis stormed the pitch with a gun around his waist. But this was just another scandal in the crazy world of Greek football, full of corruption, fan violence, and shady owners. But before we move on to that, let me give you a quick breakdown of Greek football. The Greek league has been dominated by 4 teams, the first of those being Olympiacos Piraeus, by far the most successful club in the Greek football history, with 48 league titles. They are the only Greek team to win a European trophy, as they achieved this feat in 2024, winning the Conference League. Their owner is a very controversial Olympiacos Marinakis, more on him later. The second club is Panathinaikos, 20-time champions and European Cup finalists from 1971, where they lost to Ajax. The club greatly contributed to the triumph of the national team at the 2004 Euros, as 6 of their players were part of the team that lifted the European trophy in Portugal. AEK Athens are the only team out of the Big Four that were ever relegated. In 2013, they finished in 15th place and decided to be relegated to the 3rd division instead, in order to enter the liquidation process to help with their financial problems. The club climbed their way back to the peak of the Greek football pyramid, and after years without a proper home ground, they opened the Hagia Sophia Stadium in 2022, which is seen as a symbol of their comeback. And finally we have PAOK, who are the least successful out of the Big Four throughout the history, with only 4 titles to their name. The team from Saloniki had some recent success, due to which the original Big Three became a Big Four in the media and the public. Back in the early 2000s, the Greek league was ranked in the 6th place in the UEFA coefficient ranking, meaning that Greece had 3 teams in the UEFA Champions League group stages. Clubs from Greece were constantly reaching the knockout stages of European competitions, with Panathinaikos reaching the semi-finals of the Champions League in '96 and quarter-finals in 2002, and Olympiacos reaching the quarter-finals in '99. The national team did the unthinkable in winning Euro 2004 against Portugal in Lisbon, but as it turned out, that moment was the culmination of their golden years. The next 20 years were very unstable and volatile for the Greek football, with the league mostly on a downward trajectory, which resulted in the league ending up in the 20th place in 2021. Meanwhile, the national team was recording embarrassing losses to teams like Faroe Islands or Estonia, as they failed to qualify for every tournament since the 2014 World Cup. Over the last 20 years, Olympiacos have been the best Greek team, managing to always represent Greece well on the international stage. They were also capable of attracting world-class players like James Rodriguez, Marcelo or Rivaldo. The 2 ex-Real Madrid stars who were past their prime didn't conquer the Greek league, but Rivaldo became the star of the league in the 2000s, as he was crowned the best foreign player 2 years in a row. Rivaldo moved to Olympiacos' rivals AEK Athens for the 2007-8 season due to a disagreement with the club's chairman about extending the contract. AEK initially finished in 1st place in the league, but Olympiacos were awarded 3 points after a court case for the illegal usage of a player in a game that Olympiacos lost earlier in the season. This allowed Olympiacos to finish 2 points ahead of AEK. Several managers and chairmen were angered with the court's decision, stating that the Hellenic Football Federation knew about the usage of the illegal player prior to the game, but didn't do anything about it. This decision angered Rivaldo, who said Olympiacos didn't deserve the title, and it resulted in him leaving the Greek league. The financial crisis in 2008 didn't stop the White and Reds, as they continued to play in the Champions League in the 2010s, cashing in the checks from Champions League and building their dominance in the domestic league. Olympiacos won 7 titles in a row between 2011 and 2017. Their dominance relied heavily on foreign players, reflecting a wider trend in Greece, where local talents were overlooked. In their famous 2-0 win over Manchester United in 2014, only 3 Greeks started. In 2011, a match-fixing scandal named Koriopolis happened when police wiretaps exposed club owners, referees and agents plotting to fix matches following UEFA's detection of suspicious betting patterns. Olympiacos Marinakis, owner of Olympiacos and Nottingham Forest, was one of the key suspects investigated for alleged involvement. Olympiacos Volu and Kavala FC were relegated from the Super League in 2011 as part of the fallout, but many high-profile figures such as Marinakis avoided serious punishment due to lack of direct evidence or cases dragging on in court. In 2015, a Greek prosecutor released a 173-page report accusing club owners, players, referees and the Greek FA of forming a criminal organization to control football through match fixing and blackmail. Marinakis, owner of Olympiacos, was again the most high-profile figure named. He was accused of forming and leading a criminal organization, bribery, match fixing and referee manipulation. 6 years later, in 2021, Marinakis, several referees and several members of the Greek FA were acquitted of all charges. The scandal, like Koriopolis, ended with a few real consequences, further damaging public trust. The list of accusations that Marinakis has faced is very long and also stretches outside of football. But who is he anyway? Evangelos Marinakis is the son of Militadis Marinakis, a wealthy ship owner and politician. Evangelos inherited both the shipping business and his father's political connections. He is one of the richest people in Greece, with a net worth of around $3 billion. In 2012, a bomb exploded in a bakery in the south of Greece, blowing out the shop windows and destroying part of the store. Luckily, the bakery was empty and no one was injured, but the owner, Petros Konstantineas, was in no doubt he was the target of the attack. He was a Greek referee in the country's top flight. A few days before he was to referee a league game between Xanthi and Olympiacos, two people came to see him. They insisted that Olympiacos had to win the game and they threatened me, he said. But I have never been part of the system. I cannot be bought, he added. The bombing happened a few days after the game, which Olympiacos lost. Konstantineas believes that it was Marinakis or his associates that were behind these attacks. However, Marinakis denied any involvement. In 2014, he was accused of drug trafficking when Greek authorities intercepted a cargo ship named Nor 1 off the coast of Greece. The Nor 1 was operated by companies and shipping managers with financial ties to Marinakis. The claims against Marinakis focus on bank transfers that had raised suspicion. The case turned darker as several key witnesses and suspects died under suspicious circumstances, fueling speculation that somebody wanted the story buried. In 2025, judges ruled that there was insufficient evidence to charge Marinakis or others, closing the investigation. The 2008 financial crisis hit Greek football extremely hard, arguably worse than most European leagues. AEK Athens, who had financial problems, entered the 2012-13 season with barely any foreign players and a squad full of youth players. They were relegated that season after a tight relegation battle. During the final weeks of the season, their fans, frustrated with the results, stormed the pitch trying to attack the players. Also during that season, the Georgios Katidis thing happened, where he celebrated a goal in a very unusual way. He was suspended by AEK for that season and banned from the national team. AEK, rather than take relegation to the second division and stare down the huge financial problems that they faced, declared bankruptcy and started over in the highest division of amateur football. They quickly climbed their way back to the top division under new leadership and even won 2 league titles since then. In 2008, pressure from fans led Panathinaikos owner Yannis Valdinoyannis to cut the family stake to 50%, selling 34% to wealthy supporters who invested over 80 million euros. This sparked short-lived success with a league and a cup double in 2010, but by 2011, financial troubles and internal disputes forced major budget cuts and player sales. Media owner and businessman also involved in the shipping business, Yannis Alafouzos, took control of Panathinaikos in 2012, launching the PAO Alliance project, Greece's football-first fan-based investment model, which invited supporters to buy shares through small contributions. He said, "Ever since I was a kid, I had this idea that the team should not be owned by one person. I was a bit romantic. I felt the team must be owned by its fans. So I started the project, thinking that we had 100,000 core fans who would pay 500 euros a year. But the fan investment plan collapsed due to Greece's weak financial climate and lack of such a culture. Poor management and failed transfers resulted in Panathinaikos finishing the 2017-18 season in 11th place. In 2018, UEFA banned Panathinaikos from European competition for up to 3 seasons over financial fair play. After leaving the club out of nowhere in 2017, Alafouzos decided to reinvest in the playing and coaching staff around 2021, and he has managed to almost eliminate all financial problems. And under the current coaching structures that have been put in place, it seems they have steadied the ship and managed to win the Greek Cup on 2 occasions, in 2022 and 2024. Panathinaikos managed to survive in the top division through their difficult period, but Aris were not so lucky. Aris are one of the 6 teams that ever won the Greek league, although all 3 of their titles came over 70 years ago. In the 2000s, they tried to establish themselves as the 4th power in Greece, but as the Greek financial crisis caused sponsorship deals to dry up and TV money to shrink, their revenue never matched the inflated wage bill. It resulted in a relegation in 2014, and Aris had to climb their way back from the 3rd division. In 2025, under the ownership of Irini Karipidis, Aris is currently playing in the 1st division, mostly hovering around 5th place. Karipidis is currently involved in a legal battle with Marinakis, as Marinakis has sued the Greek rival over alleged smear campaign. The campaign, according to court filings, included a Nottingham Forest fan site, YouTube videos, and mobile billboards that circulated Nottingham during Forest matches. The materials accused Marinakis of drug trafficking, match fixing, and extortion. The dispute allegedly stemmed from an incident at a match between Olympiacos and Aris. It was claimed that in the 2022-23 season, Marinakis approached Karipidis' brother, Theodoros, to fix a critical game between the teams so that Olympiacos would win, and that Theodoros Karipidis refused. While Aris struggled with financial problems, their city rivals, PAOK, were the 2nd power in Greece, behind Olympiacos. That's because the club was taken over by a Russian-Greek businessman, Ivan Savidis, in 2012. He injected millions to stabilize the club and negotiated with the Greek government to settle the financial problems they had. He grabbed international headlines in 2018 when he stormed the pitch with a gun in a hip holster during PAOK's match with AEK Athens. He asked his team to leave the pitch after PAOK had a goal ruled out for offside in the 89th minute, and then marched towards the referee with 2 bodyguards before being pulled back. Similar incidents have happened in the past. In 2011, Olympiacos beat Panathinaikos 2-1 after a controversial game. After the game, Panathinaikos player Gibril Cisse had a wrangle with Olympiacos president Marinakis. He was also attacked by Olympiacos fans and stated that he was going to appeal to the UEFA. The case of Cisse and Marinakis went to the Greek courts, where Marinakis was found not guilty. In 2014, a cup match between PAOK and Olympiacos descended into mayhem as flares and objects were thrown onto the pitch. The game included multiple stoppages and violent clashes outside the stadium. Olympiacos players had to be escorted off by riot police, and PAOK was punished with points deductions. The rivalry stems from the fact that the fans of PAOK feel that the teams from other cities have been constantly favoured by the referees and the federation over their city. In 2015, the Greek Cup quarter-final between AEK Athens and Olympiacos was abandoned after a pitch invasion by supporters. A group of around 20 AEK fans ran onto the pitch and threw objects at players and police moments after their team fell 1-0 down in the 2nd leg. Few months later, this time in the league, a game between Olympiacos and Panathinaikos was called off. Olympiacos striker Alfred Finbogason was hit by a flare as he entered the pitch with his teammates. The referee called off the Greek Super League match 30 minutes after the scheduled kickoff. After the decision was announced, fans invaded the pitch. In 2018, a game between PAOK and Olympiacos was abandoned after Olympiacos coach Oscar Garcia was hit by an object thrown from the crowd. After nearly 20 turbulent years, recently Greek football has been going through a revival period. The Greek league is back in the top 15, which allows them to have 2 teams in the Champions League qualifiers as they finish the 24-25 season in 12th place. Olympiacos won a European trophy for the first time in 2024 when they were crowned Conference League winners after beating Fiorentina in the final. But Greek teams were not just farming points in Conference League. Greece had 3 teams in the group stages of Europa League in 23-24 season and 2 teams in the league phase in 24-25 season. Over those 2 seasons, Greek teams achieved wins over teams like West Ham, Brighton, Villarreal, Porto, or Slavia Prague. The national team also came close to qualifying for the 2024 Euros, narrowly losing to Georgia in the playoffs on penalties. Their performance in the Nations League has been especially impressive as they achieved back-to-back promotions. In the 24-25 edition, they even beat England once but finished behind them on head-to-head. Nevertheless, they still reached Division A after beating Scotland 3-1 on aggregate in the playoff match. Why is Greece seeing this resurgence? Well, according to the Panathinaikos owner Yannis Alafouzos, it's because that the level of corruption is being reduced. Also, the introduction of VAR has helped, as has the intervention of UEFA with the use of foreign referees. He said, "The refereeing is better today. That is why you are seeing a resurgence of Greek football with 4 teams competing in European competitions and a more competitive championship, because before this there were people controlling the federation and the referees." Many fans claim that it's also due to Greek teams, mainly PAOK and Olympiacos, investing big amounts of money on their academies, developing plenty of young players and actually giving them a chance to play. That investment has paid off, as in 2024 Olympiacos won the UEFA Youth Champions League, and one of the stars of that team became the record sale of the Greek league a year later. 18-year-old Kostoulas was sold to Brighton for 35 million euros, smashing the previous record of 19 million euros. PAOK and Panathinaikos also broke the record sales recently, with PAOK selling Stefanos Tsimas for 18 million euros and with Panathinaikos selling Georgias Vayanidis for 12 million euros to Sporting Lisbon, both young Greek players that were developed at the clubs. One team that hasn't invested in the youth system is AEK Athens. Instead, they went the route of signing big-name players, and since 2022, names like Domagoj Vida, Sidibe, Eric Lamela, Roberto Pereira or Anthony Martial have played for the club. AEK won the title in 2023 and finished 2nd and 4th in the following seasons, but we will find out whether this is a good strategy in the long term. Despite recent focus on young players, the national team isn't built just on the young players. Tsimikas, Mavropanos or Pavlidis are players that have been playing in Europe's top leagues for few years already, and now they can shine under the management of Jovanovic, their new head coach since 2024. Jovanovic had a long career in Greece and knows very well the mentality of the Greeks, and he will be hoping to lead them to future success.